So just some other things about harmful programs. Some people are just more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses. Young and elderly are more vulnerable. People with immunocompromised problems, like people on chemotherapy, for example. Plus, we have new ways of transmitting organisms. Widespread food distribution system. Food formulations and handling practices. Changes in food choices. Look at all the packaged stuff. Look at all the chopped lettuce, the romaine hearts, and everything that's part of that that wasn't there 20 years ago. People are changing their choices. Packaged salad is only second behind bottled water in increase in sales in supermarkets over the last 10 years. Okay? Everybody sees the bottled water, and everybody sees the salad mixes, but walk into a produce section and you see it. And new or evolving pathogens that are dying for whatever reason, like E. coli 015787. We don't want to make our customers sick. And so where can contamination with microbial pathogens occur? In fields or orchards, that's what we're talking about. Of course, also during harvesting and transport, during processing and packaging, in distribution and marketing, in restaurants and food service facilities, and also in the home. Pieces of it include water quality. These are sources of pathogens on produce. Water is very, very big, so contaminated irrigation water, handling by infected workers, fresh or uncomposted manure or fecal material, wild and domestic animals. We've covered some of these. Water carries pathogens. It just does. E. coli 0157H7 is viewed primarily as a waterborne pathogen. So even if it's in your irrigation water and you irrigate, it's when did you irrigate? Did you irrigate really close to harvest, like that morning, or did you irrigate 4 days ago? These are waterborne, they live in water, and if they're on a leaf and a couple of days, sunny days go by and the water dries up, the E. coli dies along with it. But if there's a lot of water involved in the harvest and there's water contamination going on there, you can really move these things around. So there's been many outbreaks with recreational water with 015787. Salmonella, Giardia, Cyclospora are also related to water. Clean water quality is most important when in direct contact with the edible portion of a crop close to or at harvest. That's what I was just saying. In terms of when you apply the irrigation water, when is the water used. The best source, the lowest risk, is of course drinking water such as municipal water, something that's already potable. It's the cleanest water that you can use. Groundwater is less likely to have microbial contamination than surface water. Why? Because surface water is on the surface, and there's oxygen there, there's a lot of things happening, there's sunlight. Groundwater, well water, not close groundwater, but artesian water, is down. There's not a lot of oxygen. Pathogens don't survive down there because there's no oxygen for them to survive. Doesn't mean there aren't other issues with it, but usually from an E. coli standpoint, it's a good source of water. Surface water quality and pathogen levels are affected by watershed activities and season. So all kinds of things happen, including things that you cannot control. Drip irrigation definitely has the lowest risk when we're talking about irrigation water because it doesn't go on the leaves. Overhead irrigation, the source determines the risk. Usually apply to minimize leaf drying time, and usually having longer periods between overhead irrigation and harvest, definitely lowest risk. So a little bit on water quality, now a little bit on worker hygiene, and we'll do more of that. So proper facilities, education, and training of workers. So we're going to spend a little time talking about bathrooms and a little time talking about hand washing facilities. Farm worker hygiene is incredibly important. We all need to teach workers about food safety and their role in preventing microbial contamination of fruits and vegetables. We need to provide clean restrooms with soap, clean water, and single-use towels. Basically, potable water in the bathroom, single-use towels, not a dish rag, and soap. Hand sanitizer does not replace soap anywhere. Hand sanitizer can be a supplement to soap, but soap is the key for cleanliness. And enforce the proper use of facilities. And they need to be appropriate. And one thing I'll point out here, yes?
Cold water is okay? Cold water?
Yeah, cold is fine. Cold water doesn't have to be hot. I mean, hot is better, but it doesn't have to be hot. Okay? Because most of these hand washing stations are out could be outside. The one thing is that if you have a regular bathroom back at the pack shed or back at the house or back at the labor camp or whatever, then that bathroom, just like a normal bathroom that has a toilet and a sink in it, as long as it has potable water and soap and individual use towels is fine. But when you go out to the field and use a porta potty, you're not allowed to have the hand washing facility inside the porta potty. Even though a lot of porta potties these days come with a hand washing station inside, you're not allowed to use an inside hand washing station. You have to have something outside. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. On the area of manure, fecal matter, microbes, human or animal, you do everything you can to keep manure off produce. You follow the guidelines. How long before planting, how long before harvest can you apply manure? Just very similar to the organic standards in this regard. But you have to think about contamination. Where's that field compared to the field next to it? Is this in the fall? There's a manure field just kind of up the hill a little bit from that lettuce field. Probably not the best location for a manure pile. It's not just about water runoff, it's also about dust. And people that have integrated operations, that have animals and have produce, really have to think about the interaction between the animal side of their business and the produce side of their business. So manure, you need to time applications properly, know the source, manage compost piles to achieve high temperatures to kill potential pathogens. Let me say this, and I'll probably say this again. The compost that we're concerned about is compost that has any animal, manure, or municipal biosolids in it. If you have manure, if you have compost that's strictly non-animal in any way, it has no municipal biosolids, we treat that differently. We treat that just like soil or fertilizer, it doesn't count. Okay? But as soon as you start using manure, animal parts, entire animals, lobster shells, whatever you might be using in a compost pile, once animals are introduced to that mix, then you have to treat it. You have to treat it differently. You have to think about things. You know, this is not a staged picture. Okay, this is the intake pipe for the irrigation system, and the cows are drinking there at the same time. And that's just a situation that you just can't have. Okay? That's a direct line. No need to. Okay. All right, harvest considerations. Ideally pick dry vegetables and fruit when they're dry. This isn't always possible. I mean, a lot of times we pick leafy greens early in the morning because it's cool. And we want to keep them cool, and that's one way we have to do it, and it's definitely not dry then. But you think about the dry is better. Just have an understanding about that. You should leave fruit that has bird droppings on it. You should clean and sanitize totes on some sort of regular basis. Everybody's different. You know, some people do need to wash their harvesting containers every day. Some people once a week, some people every other day, some people maybe 2 weeks. Okay, it just depends on how often you use them and how dirty they get. If it's a wet environment, you're probably going to get dirtier faster. If it's been really dry, you're probably going to get dirty much slowly. Cool product quickly. Teach workers about proper hand washing. Water disinfection. Now, anytime you go post-harvest, so whether you're talking about drinking water, bathroom water, or water in your pack shed for cleaning vegetables, for helping you pack, for helping you move vegetables, dump tanks, that kind of thing. You have to have potable water. It doesn't mean that your source of water is potable. You might pull a well sample, and your well sample might be too high, but you can put something on that water supply to disinfect that water, and you can get your water level down to where it needs to be. It's a good-looking tomato, and people hate to throw something like that away. But the thing is that you need to think about your thumb going on that tomato and happen to hit that, and then your thumb touching the next, 700 tomatoes in the next hour, and your ability to move pathogens around. I don't want to concentrate a lot on animals or petting zoos, but just understand that in the area of your farm, this whole apple cider pasteurization deal was all about a petting zoo. Okay, it's all about a petting zoo. Kids and touching and going someplace else. And, we get ourselves in the worst situations because sometimes we don't follow through and think. Make sure people wash their hands before and after the animals, before to protect the animals, after to protect everything else. They should provide a place for them to do that. Post signs, try to help people to get into the habit of washing their hands. Don't allow human food or drink in animal areas. Don't let them carry their little container of apple cider to the petting zoo. And ensure that no feed is fed to the animals unless you provide it. Just with farmers markets, just a few things just to keep in mind. They're not really part of the app, but things to think about. Not putting things on the ground because you don't know where the ground has been before you got there. Keep produce shaded with a canopy umbrella or some other constructed stand. Make sure if you're spraying water on your fruits and vegetables to keep them fresh, that the water you're actually using is potable. Display produce on clean ice. Make sure your ice is all made from potable water. Store extra produce in coolers. Try to keep things as cool as possible until you take them out. These pathogens grow faster when it's warm. If possible, have one individual handle the money to reduce chances of cross-contamination. And just recognize that people are going to pick up produce in your farm stand and put it right in their mouths and eat it, whether it's a tomato or an apple or something else. Prevention is really a key to reducing microbial contamination of fruits and vegetables, and that's what we're really trying to accomplish here as a way to reduce the possibility of something bad happening. There's a ton of information out there. You'll see it highlighted all over the binder. Our own website at UMass, other websites in New England. Maine has a bunch of materials now. Penn State, Cornell, they're pretty much everywhere. There's good materials that you can access and also download, some of which are in your materials.